I mean, that's a disaster. I mean, Tom Aspinall still can't see. He's got a fucked up right eyeball still.
It's really bad, right?
The reality is he might not ever fight again. Like, who knows? Like, if he has surgery on his eye and it doesn't go well and he can't see out of the eye, apparently he's still fucked up in his right eye. There's some tendon damage or something. And, you know, eyes are so tricky, you never know. Unless you're a fucking complete psychopath like Michael Bisping, who fought 11 fights in the UFC blind in one eye, which is so crazy that he did that.
That's not what he says.
I did his podcast,
shit,
right? That's your buddy. I did his podcast.
That's my buddy, man. But he's so stupid, man.
What did he say? I did not see this.
Bro, let me put this dude, Josh, man. Josh is going to go up on... See, here's the problem. You know what? So Josh always talks to me about moving to Texas. Oh, man, it's so nice in Texas. Problem with moving to Texas is you start believing in stuff that just is not true, man. People there.
The UFC's heavyweight division just died. And if you think I'm being dramatic, stay with me because what I'm about to break down will completely change how you see this sport. There's this dangerous illusion floating around MMA right now, this toxic optimism that's destroying fighters before they even step foot in the octagon. Guys are walking into that cage with hope instead of reality, and that's exactly why they're getting their dreams crushed under those bright lights. The UFC doesn't care about your feelings, your backstory, or your potential. They care about one thing: can you deliver violence when it matters most? Because the moment you lose focus, the second you get distracted by Instagram followers or podcast appearances instead of grinding in the gym, you're already finished. And when you face someone who sees the world for what it really is, someone who's stripped away every illusion and embraced the brutal truth of this game, you're going to pay a price that'll haunt you forever.
It's not true. It's just not true. Where did Josh Thompson hear that? Could you ever wonder why?
But, Daniel, did you see who ended up in the Epstein files?
Rogan, but that's not true.
Yes,
Rogan wasn't in. Rogan
no,
wasn't.
Jon
in
Jones.
The
Jon Jones.
You're a liar.
Jon Jones was his favorite fighter.
Bro, you're a liar, bro.
No bullshit. Go type it in.
Swear on everything.
Swear on everything. You know what? I'll try to send it to Luis right now because you can search them yourselves. Yeah, that's Jon Jones' favorite fighter.
Here's where things get absolutely wild, and this is something nobody's talking about. There are whispers, dark rumors circulating about certain fighters being connected to some seriously disturbing stuff. I'm talking about names appearing in places they shouldn't be, connections to scandals that go way beyond anything that happens inside the octagon. When someone gets implicated in those kinds of files, those kinds of investigations, it doesn't just change their career trajectory, it changes everything. The entire context of their fights, their relationships with other fighters, their standing with the promotion, all of it gets thrown into question. And the crazy part? The UFC has to navigate this minefield while still trying to sell fights and maintain their image as the premier combat sports organization in the world.
You know, I was critical because I felt like you know he talked about it and then it just like kept on and kept on and kept on. And I felt like he should just kind of leave it alone and for a minute. And yeah, it sucks. And here's the thing: is he kind of accused Sorgan of cheating? And I'm actually curious to hear your opinion because of a specific opponent of yours. I feel like the ability to poke someone in the eye from space, like that's kind of hard. And if you could be that accurate, why wouldn't you just punch him in the eye?
Now let's dive into something that's been eating away at the heavyweight division like cancer, and that's the intentional fouls that everyone pretends are accidents. We're not talking about random finger pokes here. We're talking about calculated, strategic eye pokes being used as weapons by fighters who know exactly what they're doing. These aren't accidents when you're talking about elite-level professionals who have spent decades perfecting their craft. Every movement in that octagon is deliberate, especially when title implications are on the line. A single well-timed eye poke can completely derail a fighter's game plan, destroy their confidence, and potentially end their career. But here's the kicker. Once word gets out that a fighter is dirty, that they're using these tactics intentionally, it creates this psychological warfare that extends far beyond any individual fight. Other fighters start expecting it. They start fighting differently, and suddenly the entire division is operating under this cloud of suspicion and doubt.
The octagon and things are moving so fast, right? I was more inclined to believe that it was an accident. Tom Aspinall doesn't believe it. He thinks without.
And you know what's really messed up about this whole situation? In the UFC's ruthless ecosystem, there are no accidents, only failures to adapt. Take Tom Aspinall's situation, for example. You think that man doesn't wake up every morning thinking about what happened to him. You think that kind of mental damage, that psychological scar, doesn't cut just as deep as any physical injury. The UFC operates on one cold, hard principle. They don't care how you got hurt. They only care if you can perform when the lights are on and the cameras are rolling. That heavyweight title demands constant action, relentless forward momentum, and the second there's any uncertainty about a champion's ability to compete, they'll throw together an interim title fight faster than you can blink. Your reign is always on borrowed time in this game, and the moment doubt creeps in, the moment fans start questioning whether you're avoiding fights or making excuses, your value as a champion starts plummeting.
Cyril Gane poked him in the eye on purpose. I don't believe it. But regardless of that, right? On purpose, on accident, he's still suffering long-term damage from this. How long does the UFC wait, though? Hey, Josh was wrong. I don't think that ask has been made yet. If the UFC wanted to, they could just make an interim title fight between someone else while the champion waits. Tom Aspinall fought last.
Listen to that frustration building among the fan base, that collective anger about champions who won't fight. Here's what's really happening behind the scenes. It's not about careful planning or strategic timing. It's about elite fighters being absolutely terrified of jeopardizing their legacies. When you have someone like Jon Jones, whose dominance has defined an entire era, other top contenders engage in these mental chess matches where they're calculating risk versus reward. They're thinking about their undefeated records, their marketability, their long-term earning potential, and sometimes that means avoiding the most dangerous fights. But here's the brutal truth that's destroying the heavyweight division. When the best fighters start ducking each other, when they prioritize preservation over competition, the entire sport becomes a joke. Rankings become meaningless, title shots get handed out based on politics instead of merit, and the fans who spend their hard-earned money on pay-per-views start feeling cheated and manipulated.
It's like, why can't we get these guys together? And that's one of the things the UFC has been so good at, is putting the best athletes together in order to fight, and they didn't do that. Hey, I just dropped in the chat. Damn it, I'm gonna text you guys. I'm gonna text you the email from Epstein.
The heavyweight division isn't just struggling, it's on life support, and I'm not exaggerating. The current rankings are nothing more than a carefully constructed illusion designed to hide the fact that we're not seeing the kind of elite-level competition that should define the pinnacle of combat sports. These aren't the apex predators we expect from the biggest, baddest men on the planet. Instead, we're watching stagnant, predictable fights that lack the killer instinct and tactical brilliance that made legends like Fedor and Prime Crow cop must-see television. This systemic failure isn't just hurting individual fighters, it's damaging the UFC's biggest stars where it matters most. Their drawing power and their ability to create those legendary moments that define careers. When the heavyweight division fails to deliver compelling storylines and explosive finishes, it sends shockwaves through the entire combat sports hierarchy, making promoters question whether they can still rely on the big boys to drive pay-per-view sales.
Bad fight. Him and his opponent got so fatigued. They looked like they weren't ready to fight. They also looked like they just they didn't look as skilled as we have seen fighters look recently.
And get this, when you see heavyweights gassing out in the first round, looking like they forgot how to fight the moment they step into the octagon, you're witnessing a fundamental breakdown in professional standards. This is the UFC, the global stage for mixed martial arts, not some regional show in a high school gymnasium. These performances aren't just disappointing, they're insulting to everyone who pays to watch. Dana White absolutely despises this kind of showing because it makes his entire product look weak and amateurish. He wants killers, hungry fighters who are constantly pushing forward and evolving, not journeymen who are content to collect paychecks while delivering lackluster performances that make fans question why they're spending money on this. Every fight in the UFC is supposed to be a statement, a declaration of who you are as a warrior and what you're willing to sacrifice for greatness. When you give a half-hearted effort on the biggest stage in combat sports, you're not just letting yourself down, you're betraying everyone who believed in your potential.
You need the best guys fighting to kind of wipe the bad performances out.
But wait, it gets worse. This narrative that the elite heavyweights are constantly fighting each other is complete nonsense. a fairy tale sold to casual fans who don't look deeper into the politics and matchmaking decisions. Look at what happened to Cortez Acosta, a promising fighter who got absolutely exposed by Pavlovich, revealing every weakness in his game. Then you have Tom Aspinall's title win, which highlighted the massive skill gap that exists even among highly ranked heavyweights. This isn't just about minor technical differences. We're talking about huge, undeniable gulfs in ability that become glaringly obvious under the bright lights. If you're not operating at your absolute peak, if you're not pushing beyond your limits every single day in training, you simply will not survive at this level. The margin for error is so thin that one moment of hesitation, one lapse in focus or conditioning, can destroy years of hard work and preparation in an instant.
He's good, right? But he's lost fights. It's just not in a great place. Would you say that if you put Waldo Cortez Acosta in there with Cyril Gahn or Tom Aspinall, he'd be competitive? Would you?
You're right. So he lost in August of 25 to Pavlovich, Pavlovich is ranked pretty high.
And Pavlovich got knocked out by Tom Aspinall in the first round.
Hold up, because I need to address something that's been driving me crazy. If you're trying to write off Cyril Gane after his recent performances, you're completely missing the bigger picture. This man pushed Francis Ngannou, arguably the most terrifying heavyweight in UFC history, to the absolute limit in a championship fight. That submission attempt wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a demonstration of championship-level heart and determination, showing he was willing to risk everything in pursuit of victory. To dismiss him after one loss, even against the greatest mixed martial artist of all time in Jon Jones, shows you don't understand the caliber of competition we're talking about. This isn't just about isolated victories or defeats, it's about the entire heavyweight ecosystem and how one fight can completely shift public perception. But here's the question that should keep everyone up at night. Is one submission loss, no matter how definitive, really enough to erase everything a fighter has accomplished and their legitimate place among the division's elite?
Competitive because he can move. Yeah. But Luis is the classic fan of fighting because everybody wants to write Cyril Gahn off. And I don't know why.
Because he got choked by John too fast, that's why.
Yeah, but still, bro, you forget that he fought tooth and nail with Francis. You literally just sat up here right now and said the three best heavyweights in the world are John, Francis, and Tom Aspinall.
I do believe that to be the case, yes.
Cyril fought Francis Ngannou very well. Hey, a mistake cost Cyril Gahn beating Francis Ngannou when he tried for the leg lock.
Now there's all this talk about Gable Stevenson making the transition to MMA, and people are acting like you can just throw an Olympic wrestler into the octagon and expect immediate success. They want to give him easy fights, gentle introductions to ease him into the UFC waters, but that kind of thinking is exactly what creates false hope and devastating disappointments. Do you really think any fighter in the top 15 of the heavyweight division is going to take it easy on someone just because they're new to MMA? That's not how this game works. The octagon doesn't care about your wrestling credentials or your amateur accomplishments. It only cares about whether you can handle the unique pressures of mixed martial arts, the weight cuts, the media obligations, the mental warfare, and the brutal reality of getting punched in the face by someone who's been perfecting their craft for decades. You either have the combat intelligence and mental fortitude to sink or swim immediately, or you become another cautionary tale about elite athletes who couldn't make the transition to the most demanding sport in the world.
Talking about not fighting again, you got arthritis or something. I agree. I don't know. Maybe we just throw Gable Stevenson in there. I've been saying that for a while.
You think, but Gable needs time. John even said in the year Gable will be UFC champ. You don't think he needs a little more time than that?
I said throw him in there, so I'm not saying throw him in against number one, but I think he's got another fight coming up pretty quick. Put him in there. I don't know, easy. Hey, give him a couple easy ones, right? Then move.
So here's the brutal reality that every heavyweight contender needs to face. The UFC octagon isn't just a fighting arena. It's a merciless truth detector that exposes every weakness, every shortcut, and every moment of self-doubt. It doesn't just reveal who wins and loses. It shows the world who's genuinely ready for championship-level competition and who's been living off reputation and potential instead of results. This sport demands more than athletic ability or technical skills. It requires a warrior mentality, an obsessive dedication to improvement, and the mental strength to perform under pressure that would crush most human beings. The heavyweight division is struggling because too many fighters have forgotten what it means to be truly elite, what it takes to operate at a level that transcends simply being good and enters the realm of greatness. You either have the unbreakable will to thrive in that environment, to conquer every obstacle and meet every challenge, or you become another forgotten name in the history books. What we're witnessing right now is a division in crisis, where the biggest men on earth can't consistently deliver the excitement and drama that combat sports fans deserve. So I have to ask you, do you think the UFC heavyweight division can recover from this downward spiral? Or are we watching the slow death of what was once the most prestigious title in all of combat sports? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, smash that like button if this breakdown opened your eyes to what's really happening, and make sure you subscribe with notifications on because the heavyweight division is about to get even more chaotic. I'll see you in the next one. But before you click away, there's something absolutely critical that I haven't told you yet. Something that's going to shake your understanding of this entire heavyweight crisis to its core. What if I told you that the real problem isn't just about individual fighters losing their killer instinct or getting comfortable with mediocrity? What if the entire system is rigged against producing the kind of legendary heavyweights that once defined this sport? Here's what's really happening behind closed doors, and this is information that most fans will never hear. The UFC's matchmaking algorithm has become so focused on creating marketable storylines and protecting their investments that they've completely abandoned the meritocracy that once made this sport pure. They're not booking fights based on who deserves title shots or who represents the biggest threat to champions. They're making decisions based on social media metrics, pay-per-view projections, and which fighters are most likely to play ball with the promotion's long-term business strategy. This isn't conspiracy theory nonsense. This is basic corporate reality in a billion-dollar entertainment empire. Think about it logically for just 1 second. When was the last time you saw a heavyweight title eliminator that genuinely surprised you, where the matchmakers threw two killers together without caring about the promotional consequences? The UFC has become so risk-averse, so terrified of damaging their carefully constructed narratives, that they're actively preventing the kind of violent chaos that made legends out of fighters like Chuck Liddell and Wanderlei Silva. They want controlled violence, predictable outcomes that serve their broader storytelling objectives, not the raw, unpredictable brutality that actually separates pretenders from champions. And here's where this gets absolutely insane, because the heavyweight division's problems run so much deeper than just matchmaking politics. We're dealing with a fundamental shift in how modern fighters approach their careers, and it's destroying the sport from the inside out. These guys aren't just fighting for championships anymore. They're building personal brands, launching podcast empires, and treating the octagon like just another revenue stream in their diversified entertainment portfolios. The hunger, that primal desperation that drove fighters like Igor Vovchinchin and Mark Hunt to walk through hellfire for victory, has been replaced by calculated business decisions and risk management strategies. But wait, it gets even worse than you think. The training methodologies that are supposed to be creating the next generation of heavyweight monsters are actually producing soft, overthinking athletes who can't pull the trigger when it matters most. These state-of-the-art facilities with their sports scientists and nutrition experts and recovery specialists are creating technically proficient fighters who lack the savage instinct that separates champions from also-rans. They're so focused on optimization and injury prevention that they've forgotten how to embrace the beautiful chaos that makes heavyweight fights legendary. You can't manufacture that killer instinct in a laboratory, and you can't download that warrior spirit through advanced analytics. Now let me blow your mind with something that's going to change how you watch every heavyweight fight from now on. The current crop of contenders isn't just physically softer than previous generations. They're mentally weaker in ways that go beyond simple toughness or heart. They've been conditioned by social media validation and instant gratification to expect success without paying the brutal price that greatness demands. When adversity hits, when they're getting their face rearranged by someone who wants it more, they don't have the psychological foundation to dig deeper and find that extra gear that champions live in. This isn't about natural talent or even work ethic. It's about fundamental character traits that can't be taught or coached. And speaking of character, let's talk about something that nobody wants to acknowledge but everyone can see. The heavyweight division has become infected with this toxic culture of making excuses instead of making adjustments. Every loss comes with a laundry list of reasons why it wasn't a true representation of the fighter's abilities. Bad weight cut, family drama, training camp injuries, wrong game plan. Whatever convenient narrative helps preserve their fragile egos and marketability. But here's the brutal truth that these fighters refuse to accept. Champions don't make excuses, they make corrections. They use every setback as fuel to become more dangerous, more focused, more obsessed with proving their doubters wrong. You want to know what's really killing the heavyweight division? It's not just the lack of elite talent or the political matchmaking or even the mental softness of modern fighters. It's the fact that the entire MMA ecosystem has become so commercialized, so sanitized, so focused on protecting everyone's feelings and career trajectories, that it's lost the raw authenticity that made this sport special in the first place. These fighters are more concerned with their Instagram engagement rates than their finishing rates, more worried about their podcast download numbers than their takedown defense percentages. But here's the part that's going to make you question everything you think you know about the current heavyweight landscape. There are elite-level fighters right now, guys with legitimate championship potential, who are being systematically excluded from title contention because they don't fit the UFC's marketing preferences or because they're too dangerous for the promotion's golden boys. This isn't about conspiracy theories. This is about basic business logic in an entertainment industry that prioritizes storylines over sporting integrity. When keeping certain fighters away from title shots becomes more profitable than booking the best possible fights, the entire competitive structure becomes compromised. And let me tell you something that's going to absolutely infuriate you once you realize how deep this rabbit hole goes. The heavyweight division's decline isn't just hurting the big men, it's having a cascading effect throughout the entire UFC roster. When the biggest, baddest fighters on earth can't consistently deliver exciting performances, it diminishes the perceived value of every other division. Casual fans tune in expecting to see these massive athletes destroy each other with devastating power. And when they get boring, technical decisions instead, they start questioning whether MMA is worth their time and money. This creates pressure on fighters in every weight class to be more entertaining, more reckless, more willing to abandon sound strategy in favor of highlight reel moments. So here's my final challenge to you, and this is where you need to decide whether you're going to be part of the solution or part of the problem. The next time you watch a heavyweight fight, don't just focus on who wins and loses. Pay attention to the deeper patterns, the psychological warfare, the way fighters respond to adversity, and the subtle signs that reveal who's genuinely elite versus who's just occupying space in the rankings. The heavyweight division isn't dead yet, but it's on life support, and it's going to take fans who demand better, who refuse to accept mediocrity, to force the UFC to prioritize competitive integrity over marketing convenience. Because at the end of the day, this sport belongs to the fans who bleed for it, who invest their emotions and their hard-earned money into watching human beings push beyond their limits in pursuit of greatness. Don't let them turn your passion into just another corporate entertainment product designed to extract maximum profit with minimum risk.